when will this incumbent's fading reign end?
We went to James' house. And he went to the bedroom. And said, oh, so they coming to find out whether you are safe and coming home, blah, blah, blah.
Kenyatta was a smart player at putting on different faces to different audiences.
The DO, the chiefs, those people who didn't like him for no reason at all, just because they were working for a particular group or a particular clique.
He told them, no, I am not going to run away, because if I do, they're going to kill me out there, and you people will be told that I was hanging around with somebody's wife and the fellow just shot me. And that will not be true. I will die here. He was determined to die here. He knew they were after him.
He used to say in Kikuyu, Mzee cannot kill me. Yeah. He used to tell my mom, other people will kill me, but not Mzee.
A decision to eliminate Josiah Mwangi Kariuki was arrived at in Nakuru, the very town Josiah Mwangi Kariuki grew up in. His killers identified a location, an opportune time, and even a van to ferry his remains to Ngong Hills. Tonight on Case Files, JM is Dead starts now. Lying on a coal slab in a corner of the city mortuary was the body of Josiah Mwangi Kariuki, or JM, as he was popularly known. It was the second high-profile murder and assassination in the country. JM's body had been booked at the mortuary by unknown people on the morning of the 2nd day of March, 1975. His disappearance and murder caught a young nation 12 years into self-rule by surprise.
Doubts began to arise in people as to whether the government had become a personal tool of one man, a few people, few families, and so on. By the early 70s, 71, 72, it was clear that Kenyatta has dropped all pretense that this was a national government. The break with KPU had come, the detentions had come, KPU had been declared deregistered. So we were a de facto one-party state. But more important, we had become a decision-making process vested in very few, about 6, 7, 8 people. And we had ceased to have a national government. They never made JM a part of that.
The Kenyatta administration had a murder on its hands. The family of the slain outspoken Nyandarua Member of Parliament was at a loss. Rosemary Kariuki, a young girl at the time, says she was in school hundreds of kilometers away when she received the news about her father.
The nun called me that morning, early in the morning, just after breakfast. And she said, remember they said your dad is missing? And I said, yes. And then she said, well, they found him, but unfortunately he's dead. Just like that. I cannot tell you for the next few minutes exactly what happened, but I remember crying, and I actually ran towards her, and, she was consoling me. And I don't know for how long I cried, but I feel like I cried for a very long time. Then she said, now you have to dry your tears because we have to tell your sister. And that's when reality check, wow, this thing has happened, it's going to affect so many people in the family.
Rosemary Kariuki's uncle told Case Files he was in college when he heard of JM's murder.
I got to the house about 10, 11. And there were already very many people. A lot of people still wailing. Others, you say hello and they don't even want to answer, but the mood was very, very, very sad.
Shocked by the sudden twist of events, Kanye says he drove to Kitale to pick up James' daughter Rosemary Kariuki and her small sister.
I had not expected the children to be aware of the goings-on. But I remember one of them, as soon as they got into the car, that is Rosemary, and she said, "It is Kissinger, isn't it?" And I was surprised because I was still wondering how I'm going to explain.
It was Kissinger, right? Because I just now understood he has died. And then he said, yeah, you're right. You see, in our house, we had this name for people who didn't like my dad. And somehow it was always Kissinger, but I never asked who was Kissinger and why. But he just said yes.
Mbiu Koinange, a man with an arresting strong presence, was the Minister of State in President Jomo Kenyatta's administration. Koinange never left Kenyatta's side until his death. Those who knew Koinange say he was one of the closest government officials around Jomo Kenyatta. Rosemary says as they drove back to Nairobi, their eyes soaked in tears, afraid of an unusual about the status of other family members. They could from their small car see people milling around newspaper stands.
The journey from Eldoret to Nairobi was a bit vague, but I remember every time we would stop to put fuel, there was people huddling together and reading, I think it was a paper or something. There was some eerie feeling in every place that we stopped.
JM's close friend Mark Muidhaga, at the time a member of Parliament of Nakuru constituency, says members of Parliament drove the city mortuary to witness firsthand the gruesome murder of their colleague.
When we reached there, you know, it became also very disturbing to find the Chief Security Officer of Parliament buildings, Sambro Koth, was now here with a new label of mortuary attendant. It was intact, it was his body, except then the teeth, which had been removed here, and a label on one leg. A body, an unclaimed body of a Luo gangster. That was the label tied to his leg. An unclaimed body of a Luo gangster.
Young Rosemary, straight from school, tired and terrified, arrived in the company of his mother and her siblings to view the body of a man they had called father, a man they had grown to admire.
So we go to the mortuary, and nobody's telling us that we're going to the morgue. Nobody has said anything. So we get in, and there's this table with a box. And people are walking around and out. So I did not realize until I got very close that we were just about to see my dad. And I realized then that it was him because of the hands. I was tall enough to see the hands. And when I got to the face, I was so shocked because it didn't look like him. But the explanation for that was maybe that's how people look when they die. You know, I was a child, I didn't know. And I remember saying, that doesn't look like him. The hands, to me, that was him, but the face, it wasn't him.
The wife says the husband looked different. The man she married was the man now laid dead on a cold slab in the mortuary.
Alikuwa kama hapa amepigwa ni kitu hivi, na tena alikuwa na skavu, na skavu ilikuwa inapinduka kado hivi. Sasa nikamwona na nikaona ni yeye kabisa, na hakuna kitu alikuwa amekuwa mweusi, amekuwa na asili ama nini, ni yeye tu, lakini amekufa.
J.M. Kariuki's other wife, Terry Kariuki, told the media that when they rushed the city mortuary in the company of members of parliament, staff at the morgue were trying to push through the window the lifeless body of the slain member of parliament. The family had discovered the body at the morgue, but minutes later the story will have changed if the staff at the morgue, with help of faceless individuals, had managed to take away J.M. Kariuki's body. It will have been a case of a missing person, not a dead one.
And the body was there now lying on the stretchers. Without shoes, socks, yes, his socks were still on, intact. His, the racecourse kind of counter suit, and the white and red spotted scarf also was there.
Unknown to many, J.M.'s body had been discovered at the base of Ngong Hills by herdsmen and later booked at the city mortuary. Sensing a growing public anger, the government swiftly moved in and deployed hundreds of policemen at the slain member of parliament's home along Ngong Road. It was clear that the Kenyatta administration was anticipating trouble from a population that had witnessed a third political assassination in under 10 years. Pioga Mapinto was a dead man, so was Tom Mboya.
They had not touched JM because, as I said, they misread him. They thought he was part of them. And this camouflage comes about because, for example, JM was never part of the backbenchers which Kagia and Pinto were, Burudi, Nabwera, and all these. He was not part of that. He spoke independently, but he was never part of that. He never joined Odinga in resigning. He did not become a member of KPU. He did not leave KANU. And all these things puzzled them for a while, but he never forgot what his ideals were and never gave them up.
There was little official communication from the government over the missing and subsequent murder of the flamboyant Nyandarua North Member of Parliament. The government had informed the country through Parliament that JM was safe and sound and had traveled to Zambia for an official government trip.
You see, Moi was then Home Minister, and he was the one, Interior and so on, and he was the one who had to say that JM had gone to Zambia. And when it all blew up, he came into the house, and you should find it in Hansard. He stammered that he didn't know that this was not true. So they had misled him as well. And he was not a part of it. And he never attempted to stop the committee from functioning and so on.
The pin drop silence from the government and attention focused on the OTC bombing gave the government a chance to look the other way. For 12 days, Josiah Mwangi Kariuki's body lay somewhere at the city mortuary. Case Files takes a short break.